don't miss another update.
Namaste, and we are back here with the American elections in this 10 p.m. episode. And who else to discuss American elections with except Vibhuti Jha?
Namaste.
Namaste, Vibhuti ji.
Namaste. Thank you, Sanjay ji.
You are our resident expert on American elections. And there are a lot of momentous things going on. And what is happening with our good friend Hunter Biden? He seems to be helping Trump through and through.
Well, if you believe in the Democratic Party narrative, this is the Russian disinformation campaign. Okay. But the 2016 campaign against Trump was not. So, it is a question of perspective, what we look at. We know that everything is fair in love and war. So we are witnessing a war of gigantic proportions this time. And I think never before was India as involved as it is this time. So, National Intelligence of America had already declared that Russia wants Trump and China wants Biden. And now you have Iranians come into play. So you are seeing the American elections as a true fist fight going on, and democracy in full play. I mean, which other country will allow even this dialogue to happen? But then it's free for all, and as the numbers go today, as you have mentioned in your announcement that you want to talk about the numbers, and I'm a banker. So as a banker, we love numbers because numbers don't lie. Right. But at the same time, the numbers are also a function of assumptions that go into it, right? So a sensitivity analysis of 1% here or there can skew the numbers one way or the other. So, so at the moment, as the saying goes, there is always a good news and the bad news both go together. And I have begun to see as a middle path independent person, we have our role at this point in time, and the hardliners have already decided who they are going to vote for. Now you are beginning to see the straws in the wind, so to say. So I am seeing the law of physics that every action has an equal and opposite reaction play out into the political and campaign methodologies as well. And that's a very interesting thing, because the mainstream media, as we see both India and America play out, we see that mainstream media has always been opposed to anything right of center. As a result of which we know the Modi experiment, how the mainstream media went against him. Likewise, the mainstream media is so virulently against Trump because the entire democratic ideology fell flat and has suffered because Trump won in 2016. So here is the good point and the a not so good point. The good point for Biden, he is leading almost everywhere. All right, and the one of the things that has happened is that there are a lot of independent pollsters are coming up. In addition to Quinnipiac and universities, there are many independent people have begun to come to contest the polling numbers that are coming out from mainstream media. So. Right. You have Gallup, you have Pew, you have Trafalgar, you have so many of them have come about between Quinnipiac and others universities. So data has to be viewed with what assumptions that went into the data. So as of today, Biden has the lead, in which they say that he has 88 out of 100 chances of winning.
Oh, great.
Take this.
It has started tightening up, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
The numbers have started tightening up even as per the pollsters.
Correct. So it has also begun to show that Biden's lead has gone up from 7 to 9.9. Trump has only 12 out of 100 chance of winning, and Biden 88 out of 100. So, but this also reminds you of 2016 when Hillary had 90 out of 100 chances of winning. So that's why I said that while the numbers for Biden look good, but one has to take it with a pinch of salt, because tonight is the second and the final debate. And this debate will turn the numbers one way or the other beginning Friday morning. So that is
Oh,
something
that's
which has
right.
to be borne in mind. But these numbers in politics, as they say, that 7 days, 7 months, 7 seconds are enough to bring about changes. So every viewer has to consider this aspect, that tonight's debate is crucial, and that's what is going to showcase in the next 7-10 days, as the saying goes. But also the fact is that Fox News said Biden leads 50-45. Suffolk University poll said that Biden is up by 6 points. Quinnipiac said that Biden up by 8 points. CNN put Biden up by 10 points. Now, each one of them has a margin of 3 to 4 points. We know the traditional margin of error people maintain. But now what is going to happen is the debate is going to play a very crucial role, and that will skew the results going into the final stretch. So, but here is another interesting data. Trump leads in Florida as of now by 1 or 2 points.
Okay.
But if Trump loses, these are amazing data that comes out, that if Trump loses Florida, he has 1 in 100 chance of winning the presidency. And if Biden wins Iowa by Biden, he has 99 out of 100 chances of winning the presidency. So these are very strange, peculiar items of American politics and voting, because now 2 years of campaign, big fight, slug fight, mud fight is now right in the open. Public's patience is overflowing. So, we have very interesting information coming from various states as well. But then at this point in time, I would put it this way to you, or submit to you, that the assumptions that today's debate will have on 6 or 7 issues, how each of the candidates addresses it, and how they are going to showcase their case, that will form the next 10 days of agenda.
Quite right. And last time, surprisingly, Joe Biden has a penchant or a tendency for putting his foot in the mouth, but the last time he escaped it. What do you think is going to be like?
This is a very, very important point here, because I look at it from this point of view, that when you are in the final stretch of your battle and you go underground for 5 days, 15 days prior to election, that shares something remarkably interesting, is that the mistakes or his irritation about Hunter Biden's questions, or he began to say about Supreme Court nomination, stacking up the Supreme Court, packing up the Supreme Court, he did not answer this correctly. He faced a town hall where he was treated with softer than kid gloves by George Stephanopoulos, whereas Trump was getting inquisition by the NBC interviewer. People are watching these things very carefully. And now the advantage of technology is that we get news, we see news almost instantly. As a result of which, each one of us is no longer relying upon who says what, but I have to make my decision based on what suits me the best. And today, those vital assumptions will go into play much more seriously than people are giving credit for. So, for example, let's take another example. Biden is in the lead, but there is a very interesting, the 40 million people have already voted in the early poll. 40 million people have voted. The study indicates, there was one report yesterday that said that 41% is Republican and 39% is Democrat. Now, that's not a good sign for Biden. But the Biden good sign is that there is a lot of late counting is going to happen. So, so these are things which are in play. And
but if I'm not mistaken, this mail-in voting was supposed to help Biden. So if Biden is trailing here...
No. I'm talking about early voting. That's different than mail-in voting. Early voting is when the various states allow, like my state, New York, will allow voting from Monday onwards. Most likely I will go and vote on Monday itself.
What was it like in Hillary's time?
It was not so good. It was not so rampant. But as one Republican campaigner said, that the Republican registration of voters has significantly up. A lot more people have registered to vote Republican And that means that vote goes to, and those people are not signing up as a Republican for the namesake. They are signing up because they want to go and vote for Trump. As one of the Trump campaigners said, that the Trump supporters are so diehard that they will walk on broken glasses to go and vote for him. What is the situation with reference to what you call Biden? I do not know if he is enthusing the kind of charm and enthusiasm in his voters about him or not. Because at the end of the day, let's draw a rather unusual parallel here. In 2014 election, if BJP had chosen or opted to give Mr. Advani, for reasons of seniority, affection, respect, and regard, and he was competing against Rahul Gandhi, I'm 100% sure very few youth in India would have voted for an 81-year octogenarian at the same time, because that begins to play a role. Biden has been weak. Whether you're pro-Biden, anti-Biden, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, the one thing is established: Biden is jogging on the stage to showcase that he can run. Now, those everybody knows that's for the camera, that 5 seconds. Everybody knows that. But his irritation in the Q&A showed up, and Hunter Biden showed up, as a result of which he has been told to sit in. So I was catching up with BBC, because they are also a master forecaster. And BBC's point of view was that, well, you are in the lead, so why campaign? Now, you have been in election strategies. In India, we know that. Yes.
Yes.
Who goes to sleep if you are leading? Tell me that. It's like
I haven't heard of this. I haven't heard of this.
Playing football, you are leading by 1 goal, and last 15 minutes, chalo de do ball usko. No, it doesn't happen like that. Or in cricket, you have to score, chalo 5 run extra banane do usko. You don't do that. That shows an inherent weakness or lack of confidence in the candidate. And if I did not see the speech, Trump's speech yesterday was apparently a masterstroke. Even Democrats were saying, got to give this guy a credit that he handled his speech very well. So when Democrats have begun to say like this, then they are afraid. And that's the whole point. So, right now, everywhere Biden has a lead. Let's admit and let's accept that reality. Biden has a lead, whether it's Pennsylvania, Florida, Virginia. There are 2 kinds of elections happening.
Florida, you said Trump is leading?
Florida, Trump is leading. The point I'm trying to make is that these are very narrow leads everywhere, because people are also kind of consider. There is Senate election, there is congressional election, and there is presidential election. So many places, for example, senatorial elections, the state is favoring Biden or Trump, and they're favoring the president, either or, as a reverse, like it happened in Delhi. BJP won all the parliamentary seats and Arvind Kejriwal won the assembly. So people have a very peculiar voting styles, and that will happen. But let's focus on one more thing. Like, for example, all the elections, whether Georgia, Arizona, Texas for that matter. Texas is not likely to turn blue, but polls are saying that Biden is up by 1%. So, Georgia, likewise, there is a absolutely deadlock there. So all the universities were conducting the poll, but all of them are also saying one more thing very clearly. Tomorrow's debate is critical. Tomorrow means tomorrow for you, tonight for me.
Yeah.
That's what I mean to say.
Yeah. So I think India time, it will be probably early morning.
Yes. 10 is 9 o'clock here. So it will be 7:30 for you in the morning.
So let me ask you one more question about the ratings. You say that in the early voting, Trump is up by 2%.
Yeah.
So exactly at this point in 2016, what was the situation? Who was leading?
In 2016, early votings were not that many. There were early votings, but that was not so rampant. This time it has been very huge, primarily because of the coronavirus and extraordinary situation prevailing. And so that's why and the states have opened up so that there is no crowd at the same time to complete the deadline of the voting. And, so that you don't have to extend the day timing by an hour or 2 because not all people could vote. So they have opened up so that all those people who want to physically go and vote, they can do early enough. So this is I think this is one of the major steps taken because of the coronavirus situation, that people can go in a staggered way, because most of the people are home, not going to office, so you might as well go. So there may not be that kind of a crowd, but in reality, the crowd's piled up.
Let me put it this way. You say that the early voting is huge.
This
It's
time, yeah,
probably
40
in
million
millions.
have already voted.
How many?
40 million.
So if 40 million have already voted,
100
that's a
more to
huge
go.
sample.
Is a huge sample.
That's
And
a huge
100 million are yet to vote. And the mail-in ballots are another. So we do not know how many people have sent their mail-in voting ballots. So Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, Supreme Court of United States was divided 4-4, with Chief Justice Roberts, who is a Bush nominee, siding with the three Democrats to extend the receipt of ballots 3 days after November 3rd. So common sense defied me, because even the Supreme Court is a mighty institution and judges are mighty people. So they thought in their wisdom that, it can be extended by 3 days.
That's really surprising. And when does the 9th incumbent go in?
Today, there is, today I'm talking about my Thursday, Senate committee is going to vote, and the full Senate will vote on Monday or Tuesday next week.
Okay. So before the election is over,
Correct.
we expect that
Justice Amy Barrett will be in the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's go and take some battleground states.
Mm-hmm. In the battleground states, it appears that Biden is leading in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and Trump is leading in Ohio, and Trump is likely to win Florida. But what is going to happen here is that, I must tell you this, last night, that is my Wednesday night, we had two Republican lady congressional candidates who came on our program. We have a small PAC, and they gave some remarkably important insight at the ground level. One was white, other one was black. The black lady is contesting from Pennsylvania. The white lady is from Virginia. And what they said was rather interesting, because the one question they were asked was, how is it that 56% or 57% of the women voters are against Trump? And the response was rather remarkable in the sense of humor as well as reality. So Amy said, the Virginian Congress candidate, Republican congressional candidate, said that I tell my women friends, you're not voting for Trump because he will take you on a date. You have to think about it from this point of view, that who is doing the job better in terms of providing security, employment, and all the factors that Trump has done remarkably well on. Likewise, the black lady from Pennsylvania, she said, this time, how did she end up becoming a Republican? That was a question asked, that how come you from a blue state called Pennsylvania have turned Republican? She said, I got educated. I went to college, and I began to realize that these Democrats are power grabbers. They don't solve problems. They persist with the problem. And that's why I decided to do that. And she said something remarkably interesting, that Republican Party, unfortunately, is not clued onto minority issues. That was quite a stunner revelation to us.
Okay.
Yeah, she said that. She said that the Republican Party does not know how to handle. It's the rich white boys club. So a Richard or a John, the society, the community. So okay, usko ticket de do. She said that I went into the Republican group and I demanded that this ticket be given to me. I fought. I got the ticket. Today, the black community in Pennsylvania is enraged with Biden for his, flip-flop on fracking, because fracking is the one that saved Pennsylvania economy in 2016 when Trump supported it. Now, this is an issue. It will not bother a Texas guy. It may not bother an Arizona guy, but that's a remarkably local, strong issue on which, and she said, you will not believe it, that 30 young men and women, black women, are canvassing for me door to door. And she had an amazing sense of humor. And he says, oh, baby, let's go and win. So there is apart from the pompous declarations of elections, you begin to see how the local elections are shaping up in a different way and how women are responding. So there was another question asked, that how is it that Democratic Party has 125 women congressmen in Senate and House. Republicans have only 30. And to which she said, Republican Party doesn't know how to lobby and how to enroll and how to be sensitive to the minority needs. We have to go and claim it, and they give you. That's the way you have seen that several Indian lady women are contesting state assembly elections. They have been given a ticket. Even in my constituency here in Port Washington, Great Neck, there is an Indian girl from Lucknow who is contesting for New York Assembly as a Republican. So you have to look at things from that perspective. And in all the battleground states, the issues that will play is violence. Issue that is going to play is economy. Last time I had mentioned to you that Gallup poll indicated 56%. And I was happy to know that after I reported it here, even Trump mentioned about that later on. And the people began to talk about it. So there are a lot of data which is hidden. You have to really scrounge around for the number. But, for example, there are a lot of issues on which Biden has a massive lead on who will fix coronavirus better, who is more human, who is XYZ factor. But on one factor, that is the economy, who is going to handle better, Trump leads it all the way. So tomorrow's debate and going forward, everybody knows that Trump can handle the economy better. And it's the economy stupid. 90% of the economy is in private sector. Who is affected by the violence, Antifa, and all these kind of stuff of socialist measure, higher taxes? These are already there now. So how will an individual voter respond to this is key. And tonight's debate will set the agenda for that.
Okay, that's nice. Knowing that the issues are still open and there's still a chance that Trump could actually muscle his way back in. In fact, in 2016, exactly at this point, lead was, I think, about 6-7 points for Hillary.
Right.
And it's something similar even now.
Even now.
So let's see how it pans out. And what about the Rust Belt states? Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, all these were won by Republicans last time.
Yes. And with a narrow margin. So right now, there's one thing very important in play. I mentioned to you about Pennsylvania. Right. In Michigan, for example, in Gallup poll, Trump is shown as leading in the presidential, but the senatorial candidate is leading from Democratic Party. So these distinctions are happening. The issue that will play big in Michigan, in my opinion, and Minnesota, for example, which has never been a Republican party, thanks to Ilhan Omar and her antics, suddenly Minnesota is in play as well. Yes, Minnesota is in play. It's no guaranteed for Democratic Party to win. It's in play, in my opinion, because Ilhan Omar, who is a Minnesotan, she has really antagonized a lot of people, including in her Democratic Party, unfortunately, because of the role that she has played, the speeches that she has made. So and her personal life as well. So that is going to play a role. In Ohio, Trump is clearly ahead as of now. Ohio is not in doubt for Trump as yet. But every other state, in Wisconsin for that matter, they are almost neck to neck. So I repeat, at the expense of sounding boring, that let's hold our horses for the debate to happen today, which is a remarkable occasion for both candidates to showcase. And I said that Biden must be coming. His 5 days in the hiding is because, he's getting recharged.
Let's go down to some of those states in the mountains and the desert. Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico.
New Mexico will be Democrat.
Even Colorado, for that matter.
New Mexico will be Democrat. Arizona and Texas are red states. But because of the influx of a lot of immigrants in these states, the blue shade has begun to show up. So while the Republicans feel that Texas and Arizona will remain under their fold, data still indicates that Biden is ahead. So, that is the tricky part of these elections, a very close election. But it's a very interesting one. There is a gentleman, I won't name him because he's a private person within our group, as well as somebody who's traveled around the country. The issue of silent majority is real. And we do not know. The silent majority is not participating in polling. And this guy reported today that based on his conversations with people, yes, they are upset about coronavirus. Yes, they are upset about the decline in economy, but nobody blames Trump for that. So, until coronavirus came, economy is going gung-ho. Stock market, Dow has come back at 28,000, plus and minus. As one of my friend who plays the stock market very well, he said, wait for 30th of October and the stock market will re-hit. Dow will hit 30. So people are, looking at factoring what are the elements that can play a role. And Hunter Biden thing is going to play a role because all said and done, you may deny everything else, but you cannot deny two facts, that Biden threatened in public in a press conference to fire an attorney general or the legal guy in Ukraine. Then only you will get your $1 billion facility from us. And the fact that Hunter Biden was paid $50,000 to $80,000 per month for the board seat. Now the question is, every single layman will wonder, who gets paid $50,000 or $80,000? The numbers vary for a board seat in a company about which you have no experience or expertise. Give me a break. I mean, every sane person, we are people, we have worked hard in our life to be where we are. To imagine a salary of $50,000 a month for sitting on the board without any experience, isn't that cause enough for people to alert what was he being paid for? Not for any technical input, but it was access to the White House, or the Chinese gave so much money. But here is a very interesting element. So Russia and Iran have come into conversation. China hasn't. Somewhere along the line, I believe Chinese are the smartest. They know how to get in and how not to get blamed.
But I believe that Trump is going to play up the China connection.
Yes, he will. He will. And you have another interesting thing, which is seemingly non-related, but remarkably influencing element. And that element is about France. How President Macron has stood up against the Islamic aggression or terrorism against the Hedbo cartoons. So today you have the situation that Hedbo cartoons are being played in the public square, and Macron is not pulling back. Who gets the support? Who gets the benefit of doubt on this? Same Macron criticized Trump for his zealousness about Islamic terrorism, that he was defaming everybody. Today, who is proven right? Do you think people don't see it? I believe that if any thought that has struck me, strikes 1 billion people at the same time. So if I'm thinking of in that way, that Trump was right about whatever, then do you say France, a liberal country like that, has taken a tough stand on that? It won't matter. So that's why it is important to remember that between now and 7 days from now, whole lot of things will go into play.
You're quite right. And where do you see the Kamala Harris factor headed?
Traditionally, the vice presidential candidates don't matter in a presidential candidate elections. They don't impact so much. But what is important here is that, I'll say this again with due respect, that vice presidential debate threw up a very important question, because both these guys were a breath away from presidency. Kamala Harris ran a failed campaign of presidency. And she just laughs. I mean, she has a hearty laughter. I credit her for that. But the point is that, she doesn't even own up her Indian tradition. And suddenly you talk about Durga Puja, you talk about Navratri, it sounds hollow. And in the case of Mr. Pence in 2016, he delivered because of his religious beliefs, strong Christian. He was able to, bring the what you call the Rust Belt votes to Trump, even though Trump was not a very holy Catholic or Christian. Pence brought that vote. In the case of Kamala Harris, California already belongs to the Democratic Party.
Quite right.
So she did not bring a vote bank. She brought in the women vote bank or a black vote bank, but that's already exposed. So other than Indians, I don't think anybody cares for Kamala Harris.
Okay, so the Kamala Harris factor, as we see in the Indian press, is a much hyped up factor. In fact,
it is a much hyped up factor.
The Indian support has actually gone down from 88% to 72%.
That's right. It's going to go down further. By the way, I'll tell you this. The campaign amongst Indians for Trump is driven by two factors. No Indian wants a violence right in his suburb or his hometown, and no Indian wants to pay higher taxes. There may be exceptions. People might say that, somebody said the other day in one of the programs, oh, it is so shameful that Indians don't want to pay taxes, and who would not want to pay taxes? And I reminded that person very simply that, look, if you want to pay taxes, you pay, donate. Don't make me pay because my family, my requirements are different than yours.
Right. And that's such an Indian trait.
It's such an Indian trait.
Wanting low taxes and not wanting violence.
Right. And third factor also is very important, India factor. All said and done, every single Indian, other than those who hate Modi and who have a preaching mentality to India, no Indian is happy about Democratic Party taking a stand on CAA 35-370. It is India's internal matter. And it is an internal matter decision that the government or the people will have to live with, whether we like it or not. You know it and I know it. People are delighted that the Kashmir imbroglio has been solved. Farooq Abdullah's threat and Owaisi's threat कि 100 साल तक वो 370 नहीं हटेगा, देखेंगे मोदी नहीं कर पाएंगे, वो हो गया. So that is the important part to remember, that most of us Indians are remarkably upset. And a lot of Indians who are Democrats have switched over to Republican Party for this factor alone. And that's what my appeal to Indians is, that don't get enamored by the good look factor of the Democratic Party leadership. There's another reason why, we were discussing with a very senior friend of mine. I said, why do you have, that person has been in the US since 1958. And I asked him that what drives Indians to be Democrats, whereas our values are more aligned to Republicans and conservatives. He said they are smitten by the good looks of Democrats. So you look at it from this point of view, other than Ronald Reagan, the Indians who came here, the first generation who came with $6 or $8 in their pocket, they left behind the good looks of Chacha Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi in that part, right? They came here, it was John F. Kennedy, it was, Bill Clinton, it is Barack Obama, remarkably attractive personality. Whereas Republicans, you remember, other than Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, Senior Bush, Junior Bush, who were not, or Trump, they're not lovable personality in terms of, looks-wise. So, so this person, he's 83 years of age. We do a lot of work together. And he said, that's the reason we are smitten by the good looks of Democrats, regardless of their, regardless of their Democrat people whose morals are quite elastic at times.
I think this is also due to the reason that you mentioned first time we talked about it, is that the majority Indians live in democratic states like California and New York.
New Jersey
That's
included. Yeah, totally.
that's also a very major factor.
And Washington State, where it was either Boeing or Microsoft or other software companies. So everywhere, Indians, you are totally right. All of them, most of them live in democratic controlled states, United States. Right.
And then there is this factor which we know in Indian elections, is to say that everybody wants to vote for the party that is going to win. That's again a very typical Indian trait.
Right.
And when they know that these are democratic, these are all blue states,
That's
so
right.
all these people that naturally they go and
Right.
follow the trend.
And I make an appeal. I make an appeal that in this election, remain Democrats. But even if, for us, the reality is that whoever becomes president, we have to live with the choice. Presidents come and go. At the same time, we have to be remembering that you can't do anything which goes against the grains of your own country. So for the sake of your country, for the sake of Kashmir, for the sake of CAA, minority protection, everything else, support your country. You don't want to support Pakistan and Pakistan-inspired policies. And that's my invocation to Indians to vote for Trump this time, because there is a great equation going on and it better work.
And I could add my voice to yours and say that learn from the Britons.
That's right.
Learn from what the British Indians did.
That's right.
And they completely walloped Corbyn.
That's
and
right.
His ragtag group of Islamists and such what is
That's
called
right.
renegades.
Right.
That's exactly what is happening here in the Biden camp. And we might as well show Biden the same Trump, I should say, the same Trump card.
Now, what is also important, Sanjay ji, that we have to remember that history is full of men and who have been laid to the altar because of their miscalculations, despite huge resources, huge intellect, and huge power. They surrendered to smart strategy, they lost to determined leadership, and that is reflective of A.J.P. Taylor's book, Europe Since 1789, in which Taylor writes, it was truly ironical that 100 years later, Hitler was to commit the same mistake that Napoleon made of driving into Russian winter, leading their forces in the Russian winter. And that led to, and thankfully for that mistake, the world is saved from Napoleon and Hitler.
The world is saved from Napoleon. So on that note, let's move into the question and answers.
Sure.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
So on cue, I would again request, just as the notice went up, please do share, subscribe, like, press the bell icon. And of course, if you are liking our stuff and if you are in a position to do so, please do contribute to our effort as well. Okay, the first question, Rishabh Maheshwari. Your comment on vicious targeting by Dems of a Dem candidate of Hindu origin in Texas, SP Kulkarni. Why US Hindus still bend over backwards for Dems?
I said to you earlier on, it's a very good question. SP Kulkarni, I do not know what happened there, but he was quoting the Muslim votes rather brazenly. And because of that, role played in. But why Hindus bend backwards for Dems? I think we talked about that in brief length, that we live most of the Indians live in democratic run states. So, you're backing the democratic candidate. So that's what it is. Kulkarni has made certain blunderous mistakes, and and that's the reason why he's being attacked.
Okay, let's go to the next question. What is your gut feeling, Mr. Jha? Who might win? That's the $1 million question.
It is a $1 million question, and I go back to the decision tree, what Professor Shiv Gupta taught us in our MBA class. Decision tree, yes, no, and at the end of the day, you take a decision based on your gut feeling, the final decision. So I am looking at just like 2019 was Mr. Modi's win 300. we are looking at a very good reason for Trump getting 311 electoral votes. And there is a reason for that. You will see the blacks, Latinos, Asian votes going by 20 to 25%, which would traditionally went to Democrats, will go to Republicans and to Trump. And the reason is for very simple. The reasons are those: the economy, the violence, security items, and these are the factors going to play at the end of the day. Because nobody came to this country, whether leaving China, India, any other country, to go back to being in the situation where they were facing violence, higher taxes, and whatever else. So Democrats have never solved the problem. Actually, they have never solved the problem. They live with the problem, they thrive with the problem, and they keep perpetuating the problem. And that's the argument against Mr. Biden, that in 47 years, every time you make a statement about VA affairs, veteran affairs, soldiers dying in the battlefield, black suffering, every issue that he talks about, I have only one question: why didn't you fix it? 8 years as VP and 47 years, total, including in Washington. What did he do about it? The answer is nothing. Gut feel तो मैंने बता दिया साहब.
Okay, next question. Nishikant Sharma. Kind of impact US elections have on the world, we should also have voting rights too. Both are senile. Problem of Trump years, selection of staff poor.
So there are three questions.
This is more of an observation, but still you might comment.
I would comment on only the question number one, is that the kind of impact US elections have on world, we should also have voting rights. That I will not comment on. That is the internal. So, if India tomorrow has a great impact on the world around us, so do we have a right to vote in India? No. But US elections have an impact. It has an impact because President Trump's foreign policy is one of his singular successful foray, if I may say so. He made NATO pay for its own security and the budget. That's not a small matter. He called people out for doing the right thing, whether it was Canada and Mexico to have a new treaty, to get out of the treaties that were not suiting America. So, calling out China, taking on China is a big thing. The Chinese bullying tactics, their killer contracts, they are ravaging the world. And, like Brazil announced, saw the news today morning, Brazil announced that they will not be the guinea pigs of Chinese vaccine or their PPE equipments. They refuse to buy that. Think about it. If a country specific takes an action, it says a lot. It becomes a pointer. Brazil took that action, despite the fact this is one of the highly infected countries. So we had Germany the other day say that whoever is guilty, we will take action against coronavirus. This is something which I have said many times in this program and elsewhere, that for minor crimes, people go to jail. And this is a crime. This is a crime in which trillions of dollars have disappeared. Millions of people have died. Billions of business have disappeared. The landscape of business has changed. And nothing will happen. So you watch out for that. Something will happen on that.
Right. Kripal Patel, what is the strategy of Trump if he wins election? He's already
Kripal, it is a very open question. Strategy relating to what? If you can just say that, I would be happy to say something. But if you are...
Well, I think in one word, we can say that he can continue with the same strategy.
He will follow. Put it this way, he will continue with Keep America Great Again, improve relationship with India. But, it will happen that way. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Vinay. Okay, if we ignore the Kashmir politics of the Democrats, will the current Indo-US ties suffer with Biden in power, even if he signed deals like COMCASA?
That's a good question. But the issue is that you cannot ignore Kashmir. Because, we have to be realistic about the assumptions. That's what I said in the beginning. numbers drive are important. Numbers don't lie. But what assumptions go behind that number is important. And that's why I feel that the kind of statements with Kamala Harris and Biden have made, kind of statements that have been coming out. There is no Hindu policy for Biden, but there is an Islamic policy. You know who has written that policy. Those people will not sit idle. Maybe not in the very first few days of the presidency, but that will remain a thorn in India-US relationship, which I also again say, international politics is a diplomatic initiatives people, governments take, prime ministers and presidents take. You never know what might happen. But I would agree with you on one aspect, that one issue will not be allowed to derail the relationship, because India is too big, just as America is big. So I don't think whether it's Biden or Harris can ignore India, but they will permanently be a pinprick, and their relationship with China puts me on guard. That's important.
Yes, that's quite important. Though, of course, that's factor of the American establishment will always be there. I still remember what you said in your first interaction with me, that it is the fringe. It is a fringe that wins the election.
Right.
But it is the center, the Democrat Republicans and the Republican Democrats who run the country.
That's right. So,
That's exactly what you said.
Ritwik, that sleepwalking into civil war, it's a good fear or a good concern. I would definitely say so. I don't think anybody wants it. But one thing which I do know is that just as Sonia Gandhi in India keeps ranting about democracy is in danger under Modi, you see similar plays here. I can't avoid making those comparisons and drawing the parallels. But you never know what Antifa may do, because Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, these people have already told Biden not to concede election. So by law, the election will be held on November 3rd, votes will be counted, and January 20th, a new president will have to be placed there. So Nancy Pelosi is hoping to be the president next time. So she's also angling that if there is so much uncertainty, she's the third in line. So
that's quite ridiculous, though. Shubham Mishra, has Kamala had any positive record towards India?
That's a good thing. I don't have the data about it, but nobody knows that. Never heard of anything. But if she had any positive record, we would have been drummed into that. Since we haven't heard anything, chances are no.
Okay, Vivek Verma is asking, how in your view has Trump aided India with respect to standoff against China? Does this change if Biden is in power? How will the situation evolve?
Two things are important here. One is that we know that Mr. Pompeo, Secretary of State, made strong statements. He made the statement that China is bullying the neighboring nations, and they made decisive moves in the Southeast China Sea. In addition, Trump did not make any anti-India statement, which is saying a lot. Whereas Biden has a deep relationship with China. He actually defended China by saying, don't fear China. They are not going to eat our lunch. At the same time, they were not only eating our lunch, they were cooking our lunch and eating it too. So that's the point which has to be borne in mind and be aware of. What will happen is that if you have for example, Trump and Modi get along well. So they will continue to be fostering a good relationship of mutual advantage. Biden is on China's side. Biden is on Pakistan's side. Officially, it is. I'm not making it up. You can see it on the records. So if you have been professing that stand, and teaching India on human rights issue, and I always have a very strong statement to say, the cowards and traitors use the human rights angle to hit somebody. The brave people don't use the human rights issue. They protect human rights. They don't use or abuse human rights issue. India is being hit by human rights issue. Every single issue. I mean, what is a typical stereotype of India? Oh, we abuse women. We abuse this. We abuse that. Our festivities are attacked. That's the kind of thing which will continue to happen. That's what I feel.
Okay, Tarosh, who will control the House and the Senate?
House will remain with Democrats because they have significant majority. Not many seats are open. Senate is a tough call because there are several Senate seats which are open. In Maine, Senator Collins is suspect because of a variety of reasons. Maine is a Democratic state, votes Republican. New York has a bizarre record. Governor Pataki is a Democratic state, and Governor Pataki was a Republican for 3 terms, or 2 perhaps. Giuliani was for 2 terms. Bloomberg, while he was a Republican, he was for 3 terms. And now you have Blasio, who has ruined the state, ruined the city. I mean, it is sad to go to Manhattan these days. So I think House will go Democrat. Senate is a tough battle.
Varun, next question is Varun. Democratic values, dependence on state, corrosion of family, Islamist law are exactly opposite to work ethic of the new Indian immigrants. How do you explain new Indian immigrant support to Democrats?
The new Indian immigrants, I will put them as Indian immigrants. The new Indian immigrants are only technology guys who end up being in the large states, and they all sign up as Democrats. And that's something which I wonder too. I've always said this, I agree with you, that Democrat values, dependence, there is no reason why Indians should be Democrats. Because we have family values, we take care of our children, we are hardworking people, we love peace, we are least problematic from the law and order perspective. These are all Republican and conservative values. So why we are, it's a mystery. Some people are now turning around.
Okay, next one. Veer Lama, although I'm supporter of Trump, but will he stand by us against China after the win?
I think he will, because he wants to bring China to task for Wuhan virus. Remember, he still calls it Wuhan virus. He still calls it China virus, though it is a politically incorrect thing to do. I mean, you can call it COVID-19, but the origin is China. Whether we like it or not. Whether the funds, the lab, research money was given by some CDC component or no, we do not know that. But it happened in China, and China did suppress the information. I don't have to say this. You can go back into the records of China and the WHO, and the data was suppressed. We didn't know.
Yes, that's quite well known. Yes. That's quite well. So, next question: how much immigration issue is affecting voters, mainly H-1B?
In issue in India, immigration is, if you notice the 6 or 7 top issues, immigration is not one of them, interestingly enough. So the issue is very simple. Everybody, Alok, I've said this before and I'll say this again. My favorite satirist, P.J. O'Rourke, said, United States will have a very tough time having a comprehensive immigration policy or a foreign policy because everybody is an immigrant and everybody is a foreigner. So what kind of immigration policy will satisfy one group or the other? The one thing which goes in favor of Trump, this country has been, if you look at the basic of the country, it has always been performance, productivity, and profitability. Leadership, entrepreneurship, 90% of the economy is in the private sector. The system here is governed by one principle, that the democratic process of check and balances is not the most efficient system to run economy or business. Business runs on profit. So the question here is that democratic process is not good. That's why 90% of the economy is in private sector. Mom and pop, small businesses, they are the ones who are driving the economy. So the question is very important, and I think it will continue on. Right.
Okay, Shubham, is US left has gone too far left with Antifa and violence in universities. Is a Hare Krishna-like movement is needed to utilize their energies on the right path, like Srila Prabhupada did with the hippies?
Shubhamji, one of my very dear friends is disciple of Prabhupada-ji, and he runs a very active campaign on, ISKCON movement. And there is one thing which is happening in this country, and I will never share this with your audience, but today I'll share this. The Americans definitely want to learn more about us, our way of life.
Okay, yes.
We are the ones who are not taking it forward because we don't believe in proselytization. I say, don't proselytize. You don't have to convert anybody, but you have to educate people. And to that end, they are willing to listen, and it's for us, all Hindus, to take the word forward.
Right. Arun Thangri, it's a right-led world everywhere. People have changed fundamentally. He's making an observation. I guess Trump might see better numbers this time, irrespective of what polls say. So this is an opinion. You want to comment on it? Otherwise, we move on to the next.
Just one thing, that it's not a right-led world, but what has happened is that I mentioned in the initial stages is that, physics ka law hai na, equal and opposite reaction. So today you are noticing in social sphere, political sphere, that has begun to play a role. And people are now rising up.
Okay, and Vishal is making a declaration of intent. I'm Hindu and I support Trump. Good luck to you. Pratibha, why H-1B people say that if there are more or less H-1B visas, Indian economy, IT companies will be doomed. So they are against Trump. Your view?
It's like this. I don't think India will ever be doomed, or Indian economy. We heard about the brain drain argument once upon a time before the technology boom happened, and nothing happened to India. So think about it like this, that there are 3 million Indians in this country. There are 1.3 billion people in India. For every Indian like me, or every IITian here, or every doctor here, whole batch is sitting in India. So the competency is not an issue. India will not go down the drain at all. I'm a believer in the thing. I'm a great believer in India. And I think that India, if just becomes aware, focuses on performance, productivity, and profitability, we will become hugely better. Think about it for a moment, digressing here to my favorite topic. Because the public sector banks and the banking industry abandoned this 3P policy, that we have the massive NPA. So loss of capital, return on capital all went down. If we had been cognizant of that fact, that every money has to work, every employee has to be productive, and we have to have profit. It's not public money, is not charity money.
Quite right. As Dhirubhai Ambani used to say, that why do you call public sector? It has only one owner. And whereas, look at my AGMs, I have to hold them in stadiums. So I am the real public sector.
Correct.
I don't know whether you have heard of that. Okay. Ram Kumar is asking, thanks for the detailed reply. Is it not true that Biden's inefficiency is trump card for Trump? Just like Rahul is a star campaigner for Modi in India.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you.
Okay. So he's supporting you. Manmohan Singh, can Trump win?
Minnesota.
It will be a big blow to radical left. How much Hunter Biden story is going to impact battleground states?
Hunter Biden story, see, it is like I had mentioned earlier on, that American elections and American public is very finicky on certain public life matters. Privately, what you do is your problem. But when you come into public life, you have to be holier than Pope, more virgin than Virgin Mary, and be willing to be crucified. In this Hunter Biden case, whatever he did as private citizen, it is his life. But he was using president's office. He admitted to a CBS or some interview in which he said, yes, Biden's name mattered. All he provided was access to the White House or vice president's office. So it is abuse of authority. And abuse of authority, no American likes it, because they say you can live a decent life as it is. So if you're abusing your office, that's a no-no. And I would say that depending on, here is a very important element, how many people will get to know of it? Because ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC did not give coverage to Hunter Biden. Even Twitter and Facebook are censoring the articles and information about that. And even Obama, for that matter, yesterday was talking about Fox. If I had an account, they would have. But think about it like this. That's why the alternate media has come out. Fox upsets the entire liberal but that there are 7 channels supporting liberals, that's okay. So Minnesota will be a blow, and it will be thanks to Ilhan Omar.
Ninad Shirsagar. Hi, sir. What is the situation as of now? Will Trump pull it off? And what is the situation on key battleground states like Florida and Pennsylvania? I think we've been talking all about it all through. So yeah,
I think
either
go back to the program. Maybe you joined in late. So if you start the program, you'll have all the answers there.
yes, because this has been talked about in great detail. So 72 virgin goats is giving us as a thumbs up with the contribution. Thank you very much. And thank you again to all the viewers. We come to the end of the question and very quickly. And once again, requesting everybody to like, share, subscribe, press the bell icon, and to contribute to our efforts. Thank you, Vibhuti Ji. We meet, I think, maybe next Tuesday.
Yes, we will be. Yes.
And analyze the after effects of the debate.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And good night to all the Indian viewers. And have a great day, all the non-Indian viewers who are in the daytime right now.
Okay. And Jai Hind from here. Vande Mataram to all of you.
Vande Mataram.
Press the bell icon on YouTube